Good evening and welcome to Indus with me, Dalit Rikawan. Coming up in this hour, in a moment, we hear how a Northwest MP is on a crusade to have Kashmiris recognised as a distinct community. You're listening to Indus here on BBC Radio Manchester and BBC Radio Lancashire. The time now, it's 9 minutes past 7. Now, Britain is home to one of the largest Kashmiri populations, but on the census, they are not recognised as an ethnic category in their own right. At the moment, Kashmiri will either tick the British Pakistani or British Indian box. Rochdale Labour MP Simon Danchak is trying to change this. But first, we asked people of Kashmiri descent, should they be recognised as a separate ethnic group?
When we go to Pakistan, we go off a Pakistani passport.
I'm a British Pakistani, but I think Kashmiri should be allowed to, show themselves as well as to what they are.
We're causing a segregation in a country where it doesn't need to be, because Pakistan is one country, and if we're doing that, then we can't complain about other inequalities that are going on in the world.
A good idea, there should be separate section for Kashmiri, who just want a freedom. From India and from Pakistan, we want an independent country as well.
Everybody will start saying, oh, we're Punjabi, we're Sindhi, and this, that, the other. How many different nationalities going to have? It's still part of Pakistan. Pakistan's fighting for Kashmir. It's a Muslim country. I think it's sensible to just be called Pakistani rather than Kashmiri.
There you go, a mixed response there from people here in the Northwest. Rochdale's Labour MP, Simon Danchak, led a debate in the House of Commons on representing the Kashmiri people in the census, and he's here with me now, along with Councillor Dalit Ali as well, who's Kashmiri descent too. Welcome to the programme. So not everybody supports the proposed changes there, Simon. What do you make of those comments?
Yeah, no, I think the comments are interesting, and I'm keen to take them on board. I think for me it's an issue about equality, giving people of Kashmiri descent the opportunity within the census to be able to identify themselves. So I think that's important. I would go as far as to say it's really an injustice that people of Kashmiri descent aren't able to identify themselves in that way, and there are real repercussions from them not being identified through the census, not least in terms of measuring any issues or problems that they as a community might face. And we saw in the last census that was carried out that the Gypsy Irish Traveller category was added, and that then allowed us to identify that they face a whole range of different issues in their lives, and that's been helpful and constructive in terms of government and local councils being able to devise policies to suit those communities. And I think the same could apply to Kashmiris, but because it's not a category in the census, then that we aren't able to do that. So it's all about equality for me.
So that's the reason why you took this matter to Parliament.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's bring in Dalit Ali, who's Kashmiri. So why do you then support the change in the census?
I listened to some of the comments, and I think they're very interesting, and that forms the basis of my argument, in a sense that some people are coupling it with freedom and South Asian politics, which it has nothing to do with that. It's an equality issue within Britain. The other people are mixing it up with, say, Sindhi, Balochi, or Gujarati, or whatever. There were a couple of comments. What I would say is, obviously Pakistan is a sovereign state, so is India, and there is diversity within that. But Kashmir's fate is not decided, and they are neither Indians or Pakistanis. And secondly, culturally and linguistically, they are very different from other South Asians. And it is purely an equality issue, and then it's a British issue. And then large community in Rochdale lobbied Simon Danchak to take this forward, that our needs are not met, our language needs, our ethnic needs are not met.
Yeah, but saying that, the Mirpuri language isn't very different from mainstream Punjabi languages, is it really, though?
It's very different, because I am a writer in that. I make films in that language. I've got 5 published books in that language. And there is no such thing as Mirpuri language. It's a Pahari language. It's a family of Indo-Aryan languages. And of course, Pahari and Potwari, which is spoken in northern Punjab, Murri, and Hindko in Hazara, and then it goes on to Jammu and Garhwali, and then there are about 50 million people who speak that. But if you look at it grammatically and then linguistically and culturally, is completely different than Punjabi. There are overlaps, like border areas. Maybe Meep is on the border next to Jhelum. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, there is influence in languages, that people generally tend to understand.
Yeah, no, but as you go inner area, they don't understand. My mother doesn't understand because we are from mountains, Kotli and Mattabi. I don't understand.
Right, okay.
It's completely different.
That's an interesting debate. We just have some comments on Facebook, actually. Ayub Afi says there should not be a separate ethnic category. It should both be British, Pakistani and British Indian categories. And we have a comment from Zafar Iqbal. He says, I'm from Azad Kashmir and it's being administered by the Republic of Pakistan. So we are trying to promote our own identities such as culture, language, people, food. And at the same time, he has huge respect for Pakistan, and as soon as we cross Pakistan Azad Kashmir or administered Kashmir, Pakistan administers Kashmir border, we always are stopped and are called Kashmiri. But then where do you then stop? Because then you have the Punjabis, you have the Balochis, you have the Sindhis, you have the Northwest Frontier province, which is now Pakhtunkhwa. So it's an ongoing thing. Then eventually, was there a point of Pakistan then?
No. I think this is where you are mixing it up, or this is where the misunderstanding is. Like I said, Pakistan is a sovereign state, and Pakistan doesn't have only Sindhis and Punjabis and Balochis and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Pakistan has got Saraiki and some others. India has got around 3,000 languages and cultures. Now, that's a different debate. The debate is Pakistan is neither India nor Pakistan. Now, Kashmir is neither India nor Pakistan, and its fate is to be decided. And the other interesting thing is we have got state subject, Kashmiri nationality, which was implemented in 1927. By virtue of that, no Indian or Pakistani can buy or sell land in Kashmir. Kashmiris can't vote in Pakistan. Pakistanis can't. Even mainstream Congress, they can't have Indian candidates in Srinagar. They'll have to have Kashmiri. So it is recognized by India, Act 371. It is recognized by Pakistan. It is recognized by UN. So Pakistan, all the refugees from Kashmir in Pakistan, they've got a commissioner. Any Kashmiri born in Lahore is given a state subject certificate. So we want same here. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to say, I think we need to bring the debate back to the United Kingdom, because this is what it's about. It's about the census being carried out in the United Kingdom, identifying what ethnic, what people's origins are in terms of country of origin, and this quite clearly. I mean, some estimates will put it as high as 1 million. Some might put it just over 500,000, but that is the estimate, because we don't know, because it's not in the census. But that's the number of people of Kashmiri origin. So it's a sizable amount of people, much larger than Arabs or Gypsy Irish travellers that were included last time. And I think that this issue has been a political football, deliberately created, made into a political football in recent years, from lobbying by the Indian community, in some instances Indian government, and also lobbying from the Pakistani government. And I think we need to take the politics out of it and look more around equality of opportunity and how we can improve the situation.
But it's an interesting point here that I mean, the majority of the Pakistani community, in inverted commas, happens to be from the Kashmiri background, and they were the first to perhaps come here in the UK, and followed by the Punjabis and Pashtun communities and the Sindhis, etc. But yet, from the 60s, 50s onwards, people would only recognise themselves as Pakistani. But it seems to be that in recent times, people want this Kashmiri identity. And of course, in the education league tables, Pakistan is down there along with Bangladesh when it comes to education, when it comes to, future prospects, they're at the bottom of the ladder. So does that mean when we start to differentiate that it's the Kashmiri community and not the Pakistani community down at the bottom? And therefore, again, it opens up a can of worms, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. I think that there's a lot of questions in there. If you look at the migration of Kashmiri communities, mountaineers, agrarian, farm workers, and if you look at the Indians and Pakistani communities, urban middle class, so the whole leadership came from urban middle classes. Now, Kashmiris were never engaged into any community development or community engagement. So whoever could speak English became community leader. It is only recently, like when the new category started coming in, like in 71 and 1981 and 1991, that people realize. And the second question is, unless we know what the problem is, we can't, unless we diagnose the problem, we can't have solutions. It is no doubt that in Kashmiris are overrepresented in criminal justice system and in unemployment, in area ghettos, and then of course in education, and they are bringing down Pakistani numbers. So if we if we have right statistics, then the service planners, policy makers and service providers can channel support for this unfortunate community to bring them up to par with the rest of the communities.
Right, it's interesting you call it an unfortunate community. Simon, there have been some criticisms on that. Why does Simon want to get involved in Kashmiri issues? Is it because you need the support from the people that you're supporting and therefore, elections are coming up? Is that why you're getting involved in the Kashmir debate?
Well, let me be completely clear about this. I've been approached by people in the Kashmiri community in Rochdale to raise it. I assessed the situation. I noticed that it had never been debated in the House of Commons before, which I found extraordinary. I thought it was important to raise it because I believe it's a real equality issue. But if people who know me know that I am not afraid of raising whatever issue I think is important, whether that favours one particular community or whether it favours another community. And they will also know that I'm something like a dog with a bone when it comes to taking on issues and taking them forward. So I will continue with this because I think it's important.
And finally, but where do you stop? Because then everyone wants their own identity. You'll have the Punjabis saying, hold on, we are either Muslim Punjabi or we're Sikh Punjabi, and the Sikh Punjabis want their own identity too.
No, but it is different, isn't it? Because it comes back to this point that Dalat's raised about sovereignty, and Indian and Pakistani people have their own sovereignty as a country, but it's different for Kashmiris, and they are a very sizable minority, and that's why they should be included, just as Irish travellers were in the previous census.
Okay, well, it's an interesting debate, and it will continue, no doubt, but thank you very much for coming in. That's Simon Danchak and Daulat Ali as well. Thank you.